pub that myself and my wife Maz own has 2 log fires that burn 7 days a week for about 12 to 13 hours a day. So as you can see, we get through quite a lot of wood. This wood was cut last summer, so it won't be ready until at least next winter. And as you can see over here, we're running a little low. So today myself and Simon are going out wood collecting. As you can see, the weather is hardly conducive to outdoor activities today, but the weather forecast does assure me that things are going to get a little bit better. The first essential parts of the equipment are a decent sized trailer and the old faithful Land Rover, and of course a chainsaw, fuel, oil, and a bucket of spare parts, spare chains, so on and so forth. And not forgetting the all-important, virtually essential, flasks of tea. Nothing happens in Britain without tea. So here we are, we've just arrived, and Simon's opened the gate for me, and there's our pile of logs. Hope this field isn't it's quite slimy. Don't want to leave nasty wheel marks. Some sheep for company. And that's our pile of logs. So let's get to work. Well, thankfully the weather has cleared up and it has stopped raining. It got a lot worse on the way over, but the weather forecast has proved right. So as you saw, we have a large pile of oak, about 4 years old, so it should be perfect. It looks like a rotten mess here, but we'll unearth it as we go. The chainsaw that I have here today is a Husqvarna 365, had it about 4 years. Love it, really good piece of equipment. Just always works consistently, and yeah, I really do love it. I'm not saying it's the only chainsaw to have at all, but it's a very good buy. As you can see, I'm hardly dressed in safety equipment, so this is not a video about how to use a chainsaw in any shape or form. I'm not a professional tree surgeon or anything, just used chainsaws for many years. But the one lesson I learnt many years ago was the terrifying power of one of these machines. So here's a seasoned piece of oak, about the thickness of my thigh, roughly. Let's see how long it takes to go through it. So that took 10 seconds to go through that, and my leg, I reckon in comparison to seasoned oak, is like a watermelon. So I would guess roughly that a chainsaw would go through my leg in about 1.5 to 2 seconds. And that's what I think of every time I use this machine. As you could see when we drove up to the log heap, that some of the logs were quite a large size. This shows really how big some of them are, beyond my chainsaw. But also, just for a moment, to think that I cannot imagine how old this tree was. It was felled because it had rotted in the middle. But you know, I'm guessing 500 years old, and almost a bit sad to see it in this state, but also good to make some use of it in the form of firewood, I suppose. What we've done is to pull out the smaller logs, get them out into the open, because I daren't risk catching a stone or any sort of hard object with the chainsaw, and we'll cut them up here and then load them into the Land Rover. come back to you as we progress. The rain has gone, the sun's come out, so all is happiness, and we're about halfway through. So this is the Land Rover sort of actually working for a living rather than trundling around on the road. Fill it up about 3/4 way on the back seats, and we'll squelch our way round. A little bit over 3/4 in the back, and so now we'll hitch up the trailer and fill that one up as well. All loaded up and finished, well, phase 2 I suppose really, and so now it's back to the pub to offload and split up anything that needs splitting. Almost there. I reckon that each of these bays holds about 4 to 5 tonnes, and we'll go through just for the pub alone about 6 to 7 bays, making it, you know, give or take about 24 to 28 tonnes of firewood we'll go through in a year. And add on to that is I also have a fire at home as well, just to keep me busy during the winter. But I do love them, and they're well worth having in the pub, because there's nothing more welcoming than a log fire. Splitting the wood creates a lot of work on top of everything you've seen. So, as with this log, I've cut it very thin, which makes the splitting process a lot easier, and hopefully I'm about to prove that right. Yeah, so if that was 3 times the length, it's quite possible the axe gets stuck and you end up spending the equivalent of 8 logs worth of time trying to get the axe out and continue to split it. So whenever I hit anything that I see awkward to split, I just cut it into thin pieces and then treat it like that. At the end of a thoroughly enjoyable day out in the countryside, it's very satisfying to see this section of the log shed full up again. A process that will have to be repeated in about another 2 to 3 weeks' time, and throughout the winter. Keeps me fit. After all, when my customers come into the pub or I get home, there's no more welcoming sight than an open fire.